Hello. For my project, I did create a movie, and so I am currently reading, or have been reading up until the latest issue, Duke, which Duke, G.I. Joe character, cartoons, movies, comic books. But there has been a new iteration of it where it breaks Duke down to like a raw state, and he's just he was on a mission. He was on a someone was giving him a ride home in a jet, and then he got attacked by a Decepticon. But when he tells people, nobody believes him. So he goes off and tries to find why this is happening in these robots. And it just gets intense and intense. And this is a prequel that they did to all the other like comic books and it's supposed to be a prequel, and they add a lot of characters from the comics and movies. And I chose to create a movie and who I would cast if this comic book series iteration got a movie. So let's get into it. So first, I'm going to be starting from characters like just from like almost not least characters, but characters that are almost B-list but A-list too at the same time. Also A-list characters. We're going to go backwards, forwards. Okay, first is Scrap Iron. Scrap Iron is like the engineer and mechanic for Cobra, but currently works for Destro before Cobra Commander starts the terrorist organization Cobra. And for that, I am going to cast, if it works, Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Scrap Iron. Then The Dark Knight Rises, a bunch, Inception. I think if they were to do some disfigurement to his face, which Scrap Iron does, and because Joseph Gordon-Levitt played Cobra Commander in G.I. Joe, the first live-action movie with Channing Tatum, I think he'd be a good actor for that sort of disfigurement, do something to the side of his face, wearing a helmet, doing a voice. He would do really well at that. So that's what I'm going to cast as Scrap Iron. And then I have Stalker. Stalker, his trait is sort of tracking people down like a hunter of G.I. Joe. And I am going to have that played by... Oh my, is it focusing? Mahershala Ali. He's going to be in the upcoming Blade movie, Marvel's Blade, and he's also been in the Green Book. I think that he portrays Stalker well. I think they haven't really had many live action Stalker like a character for Stalker. He's always just been in the comics and the cartoons. But I think seeing how he could be playing Blade, I think he'd be a good actor for Stalker. Next, we have Rock and Roll. Rock and Roll is sort of like the grunt, the soldier, the machine. He carries a machine gun for his weapon and sort of like Rock and Roll for a name. And I think focuses. Dave Bautista would be a good actor to portray this role. He's been in Dune Part 2, Drax, and all the Guardians movies. And I think in almost all the roles, he sort of plays that comedic / serious / sort of like character that has some flaws. If you've seen Guardians of the Galaxy and you've seen Dune, in Guardians he plays the good guy, in Dune he plays the bad guy, but he can do both well. And I think he's good at that sort of like almost not even punk, but sort of rock and roll style. Let's go, grunt, carelessness, almost still has care, but like sort of like, I'm not waiting for anybody else. I'm going to push in myself and complete the mission and do what I do. Next, we have Major Blood. So Major Blood works for Cobra in the comics and the cartoons, but in the prequel, he was a mercenary, sort of a gun for hire. He is Scottish. So yeah, Scottish. And I think that Christian Bale would best portray him in a live action. He sort of has that mustache, sort of almost goatee sort of thing going. And if he were to just speak, he's an English actor, but if he was sort of speaking a sort of a Scottish sort of accent, that would be good. And in the comics and the movies, he has an eye patch, and you actually, when you read, you get to see how he got that eye patch. And I think him doing an accent, which, I mean, he's been in the Dark Knight, all the Dark Knight movies, it'd be good. Next, we have the Baroness, which the Baroness also works for Cobra in the later series, and she is Destro's wife slash girlfriend. And I think, but in the prequel, she's a mercenary, a gun for hire also. And I think the perfect person to portray her would be Anne Hathaway. Anne Hathaway has been in Dark Knight Rises, Interstellar, Devil Wears Prada. I think she would be a good actor for this because she also can play that sort of comedic, sort of mysterious slash serious character role, and she's done it before. I mean, because the Baroness is almost mysterious, but also sort of like a Catwoman type, where knows how to fights and can fight well. So I think she'd be a good actor. Next, we have Destro. Destro works for Cobra 2, is Cobra's second in command. But before, he ran a company, Mars, which created arms and was like almost an arms dealer. Like the company was a front, but also made equipment for other companies. And I think Sam Witwer would be a good character. Sam Witwer has voiced Darth Maul in the Clone Wars series, Star Wars Rebels. He was voiced some part in. Was a voice in Rogue One, Smallville, just a myriad, Supergirl, Solo, Star Wars Story. Just a good voice actor. And Destro has a metal face, and Sam Witwer can do voices. I mean, he's a voice actor. So I also think Destro's character is Scottish, so I think he could do a good accent and sort of with his face covered, play a really good sort of like a mysterious businessman, sort of second in command to Cobra, but business also, making deals like arms dealer. So yeah, I think he'd be a good pick. Next is General Hawk. General Hawk is a general of the G.I. Joes, and is sort of like the lieutenant corporal. And I think Josh Brolin, if it wants to focus, would be a good actor to play him. He's been in the Goonies, Dune Part 2, No Country for Old Men, Deadpool 2, Sicario, just a myriad of films. And I think him being a general sort of corporal army person would be good because he's played some of those roles, not some of those roles, but he's played roles like it. Like in Sicario, he was working for the Army / FBI, and he was like sort of the squad leader for the thing that they did in that. So I think that he would definitely be a good sort of serious character, serious role. And then last but not least, Duke, the main character, I think that this would be interesting, should be played by, focuses, Ryan Gosling. I think Ryan Gosling is a good actor. He can do serious and comedic almost every movie. He's been in Blade Runner 2049, Drive, and a bunch of other things, but those two movies I listed are the serious parts. I think, as almost any movie Ryan Gosling is, it's either serious or comedic, and he balances that so well. So I think if you were to cast Ryan Gosling sort of in a raw / broken state character, I think he would portray Duke well as a character from the comics and combat in the movie. This is all hypothetical, if there was a movie. So yeah. So those are the actors that I would cast. Sorry if the screen wasn't focusing. I'm doing it in the dark, and it's raining outside currently. So yeah, thank you for listening.